Hi there, welcome back. In the previous step, we looked at internationalization, and in this step, we would start with our first Spring REST web service. Spring REST web services would need a course on their own. We are not going to cover everything about Spring REST web services in here. What we would be doing is we would create a couple of basic web services in this step and the next step, and we would try and understand the basics of them. The REST web service that we would be creating would have a JSON input and a JSON output. Let's create a very simple JSON output REST service right now. What we want to start with is we want to expose something of this kind. So we want to say when user says localhost :8080/todos, we would want to show him a response which would contain the list of to-dos. So the entire list of to-dos we would want to expose in this particular URL. That's what we would want to do in this particular REST service. So let's see how to do that. The first thing we would need to do is to create a controller. So let's go ahead and create that. So right click. I'll call this to do REST controller. I'll put it in the same package in 28 minutes to do and say finish. I could have actually added in something of this kind to classify it. You need to have your REST services grouped differently compared to your normal things. So please do consider adding specific packages for your REST services. I would click next for now. So now I have a to-do controller. I would actually need to use a specific annotation on top of it. This is not a typical controller. What is this? This is a REST controller. So I would add an annotation REST controller on top of it. I would want to use the to-do service in here. So I would want to auto-wire it in as well. So to-do service auto-wired. So now to-do service would be auto-wired in here. Now I will create a simple method. This is similar to any other methods that we have created in the controllers. This is the method which we would want to handle the request for /users. I would want to return a list back in here, list of to-dos, because we would want to show the list of to-dos in the JSON format. We want to return that back as a response to this particular URL, and I'll say retrieve all to-dos. Because we are retrieving everything, we don't really need to have an input parameter. I would import the list and I would say return service dot retrieve to-dos for a specific user. Okay, so let's just type in 28 minutes. Let's hard code this for a moment. We have the method ready, but how do we really say the URL for this particular method? Actually, not a lot has changed. So all that you need to do is add a request mapping, and you can add path is equal to, we want to expose this as /todos. This is all you need to do to expose this particular service. Let's see what would happen. Let's wait for the whole thing to reload. Yeah, it's loading up now. When I type in the URL localhost :8080/todos, I'm getting an error. It says application has encountered an error and please contact support on something. When I go into the log and check the error, it says no converter of this particular type is found. What we would need to do is we would add a default thing in here. We would want to use Jackson to do all the conversion automatically. We have a Jackson data bind jar which is in here, which would handle all the conversions for us. So let's go ahead and quickly add that to our pom.xml. Make sure to restart the server. And now I'm going to the localhost :8080/todos. Aha, there you go. Now I have the JSON data coming back. So you can see that ID, user, description, target date, they're coming back in a specific way. So there you go. In this specific step, we learned how to expose a REST service using Spring MVC. We are not really going into depth about REST services because REST services is a very complex topic on its own. We just wanted to show you how a REST service is exposed. In the next step, we'll also try and pass in a simple REST parameter in. And until the next step, bye-bye.